mind control tactics, nightmares, and dreams in occult families. Welcome back. I'm Adeline Atlas, 11 times published author, and this is the Occult Families How to Spot Them series. Trigger warning. This video series covers disturbing and very serious topics. Full legal disclaimer in the video description below. In occult bloodline families, mind control goes beyond physical or emotional abuse. It is a sophisticated system of psychological and spiritual manipulation designed to fragment identity, control behavior, and suppress autonomy. This system operates largely through trauma-induced dissociation, the strategic use of triggers, symbolic programming, and dream manipulation. Unlike public narratives focused on government programs or secret experiments, these mind control tactics are embedded within the family structure itself, passed down through generations as part of spiritual control and survival strategy. Key methods include dissociation by design. Trauma is deliberately inflicted to fracture the psyche, creating separate identities or alters that can be compartmentalized and controlled independently. This splitting allows abusers to isolate parts of the victim's consciousness, making it easier to impose commands or block memories. Triggers and coded language. Families implant specific words, phrases, gestures, or images that serve as activation signals. These triggers induce emotional or behavioral responses on command. For example, a seemingly innocent phrase may instantly cause panic, compliance, or dissociation. These are not accidental. They are programmed tools to manipulate frequency and keep control. Symbolic and media programming. Popular culture, films, music, fairy tales, especially those with repetitive symbolic content, are weaponized to reinforce programming. Disney movies, for instance, contain repeated archetypes and coded messages that ritual families use to shape belief, loyalty, and trauma responses. Sleep and dream programming. Sleep becomes a critical interface for control. Repetitive suggestions, dream state interference, and ritual work during sleep implant commands reinforce trauma and program compliance without waking awareness. The result is a person who often forgets or dissociates from the abuse consciously, but remains deeply influenced subconsciously. Their spirit becomes compartmentalized, obedient, and manipulable, an energetic vessel with multiple program layers. Soul fragmentation and retrieval. Trauma as a portal. A central and devastating tactic in ritual abuse is the intentional fracturing of the soul, a process known as soul fragmentation. This is an actual energetic split, not just psychological dissociation. When trauma is too overwhelming, parts of the soul literally disconnect to preserve the core self from destruction. In occult families, this fragmentation is not incidental. It is engineered through rituals designed to trigger the fracture at precise moments of trauma, betrayal, or abuse. Anchor those fragments into physical or spiritual containers, objects, altars, or ancestral sites. Utilize these fragments to enforce control, harvest energy, or maintain spiritual contracts. These lost soul pieces often become tethered to ritual objects or locations, creating invisible cords that bind survivors long after abuse ends. Survivors may feel unfinished, lost, or sense parts of themselves remain trapped in places they cannot reach. Soul fragmentation serves the system's goal. A broken spirit is easier to manipulate and bind. Fragmented identities carry trauma wounds, confusion, and energetic vulnerability that ritualists exploit. Recovery is possible through soul retrieval, a trauma healing technique involving timeline collapse, identifying and energetically collapsing the moment of fracture. Ritual reversal, undoing the binding or trauma ceremony that caused the split. Inner work, guided meditations, shamanic journeys, or dream state recovery to find and reintegrate lost soul parts. Healing requires no re-traumatization, only acknowledgement, invocation, and declaration of sovereignty. Affirmations such as, I call back every part of my soul stolen, trapped, or lost. I revoke all assignments placed on those fragments. I am whole, I am sovereign, my light is unbreakable. Each recovered fragment dismantles control grids and restores spiritual authority. The astral prison, control through dreams and sleep. In occult bloodline families, control extends into the dream realm, a dimension of profound manipulation often overlooked by survivors and the mainstream alike. Sleep, rather than rest, becomes a space of surveillance, programming, and spiritual violation. Families use ritualized dream work to isolate and train victims in subconscious obedience, enforce spiritual contracts, and reassert control when physical access is limited. Harvest life force and sexual energy during vulnerable sleep states. Common astral manipulations include forced astral sexual violation, energetic assaults that replicate sexual abuse in dream or altered states, often involving known family members or spiritual entities. Survivors report vivid, hyper-real dreams with lingering physical sensations, exhaustion, pelvic pain, numbness, upon waking. Nightmare implants. Recurrent dreams designed to induce fear, guilt, despair, or paralysis. Common themes include being chased, trapped, or watched by invisible forces, and family members appearing in threatening or distorted roles. These nightmares weaken emotional and energetic stability. Training dreams. Dreams that feel controlled, scripted, or instructional. Survivors describe returning to school-like settings, receiving tests, or following commands from authority figures. These serve as ritual reconditioning sessions to keep the spirit aligned with imposed contracts. Entities posing as deceased relatives. Familiar faces appear offering comfort or guidance but with off energies, used to reopen cords or redirect loyalty. These are spiritual decoys, crafted to deceive and maintain connection. Sleep paralysis as ritual checkpoint. Repeated episodes of sleep paralysis often accompany astral interference, accompanied by sensed presences, auditory phenomena, or pressure on the body. These are ritualized freezes, designed to monitor or punish boundary crossing. These experiences frequently occur around key ritual dates, birthdays, anniversaries, lunar events, solstices, or family deaths, intensifying control. Waking triggers, unexpected calls, visits, or messages are often coordinated with astral activity to destabilize the survivor's energetic field. How access is gained. Spiritual access during sleep is often granted through objects still held by family members, hair, photos, childhood belongings, unrevoked spiritual contracts or family obligations unknown to the survivor, generational training passed down to family members skilled in dream manipulation, intentional ritual sleep practices like guided dreaming or out-of-body travel taught within the lineage, repetitions and reinforcements. Survivors may experience waking life events that mirror dream violations, meeting people named like those in dreams, entering unfamiliar but familiar feeling spaces, or encountering relationship dynamics echoing nocturnal control. These repetitions reinforce the original programming and keep the victim trapped in the timeline imposed by the ritual dreamwork. Patterns to recognize dreams that consistently involve family members in twisted or controlling roles. Dream themes of shame, fear, helplessness, or regression. Vivid physical or emotional residues from dreams. Exhaustion, confusion, dissociation. Recurring nightmares or training sequences with ritualistic symbolism. Sleep paralysis episodes with sensed presences or ritualistic qualities. Emotional and physical reactions that intensify around significant family or ritual dates. Why silence feeds the trap. Families often dismiss these experiences as just dreams or imagination, ridiculing survivors who share. This invalidation fosters isolation, self-doubt, and strengthens the ritual contract by eroding the victim's trust in their own memories and perceptions. The dream realm is not a passive space, but a battlefield where occult bloodline families maintain control when waking access is cut off. Recognizing these patterns and naming the astral prison is the first step toward breaking free. Hi, I'm Adeline Atlas, 11 times published author, and what you just watched is part of my signature program, the Chosen One series inside School of Soul. This series is not just a course, it's a blueprint for those who know they were different from the start. The black sheep, the scapegoat, the truth teller, the cycle breaker. Inside, you'll discover the family roles playbook, the golden child, the scapegoat, the enabler, the lost child, and how to finally step out of the part you were cast in without consent. How the black sheep becomes the goat, turning rejection into radical transformation and leadership. How to break generational curses and rewrite ancestral contracts so the pain stops with you. And how to recognize and escape modern forms of spiritual and technological targeting, from gang stalking to synthetic synchronicity. This isn't just about survival. It's about awakening, about reclaiming your voice, your lineage, and your destiny as one of the chosen ones. Click the link below to access the full series now, because the role ends the moment you decide it does, and the real script begins with you.